spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scarish Podcast.
Woo! I'm trying to be slightly quieter because during our live broadcast, I'm pretty sure I blew out the eardrums of many a listener and viewer.
So on the episode, I was like, oh, we hear another woo outside of the room. It was because my sister was watching the stream in our loft, and the volume on the TV was up. Yeah, so we could hear his own woo.
Yeah, I thought it was someone else participating enthusiastically. It was just myself wooing back at me.
Yeah.
So it was kind of funny. So thank you to those of you who tuned in for the live stream. It was super fun to do. We look forward to doing it again. And for this week, instead of doing Wednesday at 6:30, we're actually going to be doing it on Tuesday. So the day that you're hearing this, unless you get it early, at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, because we're going to be busy on Wednesday.
We have family in town. We're going out of town on Wednesday, so we're going to have that one-time change, but we're going to get back to the Wednesdays starting next week. So we're super excited to keep going with those.
Yep.
It's been super fun, and obviously Storytime episodes are going to be like that now, and those are where we read the homegrown horrors you guys sent us or send us, which is just the emails of the experiences that you have, most of the time paranormal, sometimes not, but either way, whatever you want to share. I did want to state that one of the emails that we read on Storytime number 25.
A lot of people are saying that it was stolen from Reddit.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, I've heard that before. In fact, we had two stories. One of them was like, I think you guys read that one already.
Yes, so I'm just like, we are so sorry. The live show was a crapshoot. Like, it was bad.
Here's what I think happened, because I don't remember reading it on the air, but it did sound familiar. And I even mentioned it to Robin, like, hey, do you remember reading this one before?
And I remembered reading it, but I didn't know if I had read it out loud.
Or on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Because that one did come from the Facebook group. So we're like, hey, let's just read it. Like, maybe we doubled up on it. Not exactly sure. I haven't gone through all the episodes to check. But the other one about the person who was like in almost like a coma type of state, who like lived an entire life.
Yeah, that was from Reddit.
We were told that one was from Reddit. So either the person who had it happen to them posted on Reddit and also sent it to us.
Yes.
In which case, cool, thank you for sharing. Or someone decided that for attention, they were going to steal someone else's story and send it to us. And I'm just going to say, as politely as I can, don't do that. It's much better to just stay silent than to open your mouth and lie or steal from someone for attention. So just don't do that shit.
We love doing this show, this podcast, and so when people do that, it like,
it's upsetting.
It's really upsetting.
We don't like having our listeners let us know, like, hey, we think someone duped you or someone's sending you shit. And, like, we've had people that don't listen to the cast tell us, like, oh, I'm not going to listen to your podcast. It's all just creepypasta.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, here's the thing. Like, one, the stuff that we research, like these episodes we're about to do, that's not creepypasta. That's us trying to get to the bottom of something or inform you guys on a legend you might not know about. And for a lot of you guys that share your personal paranormal experiences, that's something that actually happened to you. And we're not trying to Zach Baggins the show by cheapening the experience, by trying to make something sensational or make something sound really good. I'd rather read you guys a more boring story that's 100% true than an exciting story that's possibly bullshit. And a lot of the times we read stuff that we're not sure about, so we tell you guys this could possibly be bullshit. And we don't like saying that during Storytime episodes because we don't want to discredit anyone's story or experience or make you guys feel like we don't believe you.
Yeah.
And like we've said before, we're going to read those to you guys and let the audience decide. So you guys can share with us freely. All I'm saying is don't take someone else's story. And a lot of you guys have emailed us and been like, hey, this happened to my grandfather or this happened to my mom. I totally understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. I like to share my dad's stories. And if someone's story is good enough, I try and have them send it directly to me rather than me try and replicate the details of like what I remember. But going and finding someone else's story on Reddit and sending it to us, like, don't do that. There's a reason we're not the podcast that goes and reads stories off of Reddit or read stories off of creepypasta. Like, we're looking for your guys' personal experience to grow the community through that. And then we want to share with you these topics that we do weekly as well, just to, have fun. So that's all I'm going to say about it. If it was the original poster, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Otherwise, guys, please don't send us stuff that you're stealing from somewhere else, because at some point someone in the community is going to point it out, and we don't want that. So that's the last thing I'll say about it, but we're going to read some homegrown horrors for this episode. So do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay, so this first one is from Caitlin, and it's called Feel Free to Share. So that's good. Thank you for putting that in the subject. It starts out, Hey, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello. I came across your podcast on Spotify like a shit ton of other people have, apparently, LOL. Shout out Spotify. I love listening to it at work because it makes the day go by faster, so thanks for that. I have a kind of, quote, feel-good story. I have a few creepy ones as well, but I'll save those for another time. About 10 years ago, one of my best friends since junior high committed suicide. In parentheses, they say, that is obviously not the feel-good part.
Yeah, I was going to say, that does not feel good.
That's really, really sad, and we're sorry for your loss. They go on to say, we were both 21 at the time. I have to say I was not surprised that she did it, but I did not see it coming at all at the time. She actually did it the day after my son's first birthday.
Wow.
Which she attended with her daughter, and I had actually spoken to her a couple of hours before she did it. She did not allude to the fact that anything was wrong at all, and we were actually talking about things in the future. Anyway, after she died, I had dreams of her, but in the dreams, it was like I didn't know she was gone. In the last dream I had of her, a month or two after she passed away, I knew she was gone, so I was shocked at that point to see her. In my dream, I was at the mall with a couple of my other friends, and I saw her walking towards me from about 100 feet away. I ran up to her and hugged her and was like, "What are you doing here?" She said, "I just wanted to let you know that I'm okay and I'm doing good now." She said to make sure her daughter's dad takes her to the doctor, not like she was sick, but to make sure he takes good care of her, and a few other things like that. Then she said, "It's like a maze." I didn't know what she meant, so I asked, "What is?" She said, "Heaven. It's like a maze to get to, but I'm almost there. I have to go soon, so I won't be able to see you again." Then I just hugged her and cried, and it was over. Now, I'm not religious at all, and I know that most would say that if you commit suicide, you don't go to heaven. And as a side note, really fast too, that's a Christian thing.
Yeah.
That's not something that everyone's believed for all time. Like, a lot of people believe that suicide was honorable, like in a lot of different cultures, like the Christian.
In Japan.
Yeah, in Japan, like even in like the Roman and Greek times, like suicide was an honorable thing too. And it's a Christian thing that if you die with sin on your soul, you go to hell, and that suicide is a sin. So that's not something that, if you're not religious, that I think that you really need to worry deeply about, because if you believe there's a place like heaven that your friend would go, that doesn't necessarily mean that like she's going to hell. So I'm just letting you guys know, like, that's something I've heard from a lot of people, and I've dealt with myself. So I just want to put that out there. She goes on to say, I don't know if I even believe in heaven. However, if there is one, I hope she is there. I wonder if that's why it's like a maze to her, because she killed herself. Like she had to do some work or something to get in. I like to believe that it was her trying to give me some closure and say goodbye, but it could just be my mind trying to heal the hurt. Obviously, anything is possible. I do know that I've never dreamt of her again like that. She has been in my dreams, but always in the background. I have never had another conversation with her. I don't know that this sounds like a feel-good story at all, but it made me feel better. Thanks for listening, Caitlin.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. I think it's a really big thing on both fronts, where either it's your mind trying to heal how you feel about it, or if it's like an actual thing where you got to talk to her and you got to see her. Like, I think it's a feel-good story, because either way, it's a good thing. And
we get a lot of emails from people that have dreams like this that are very cathartic, where you get some sense of closure that you didn't get in life from a dream. And I think that's super powerful, and I really do appreciate you sharing that. So one more time, thank you for sending that in.
Yeah, and we just want to remind everybody that suicide is a big deal, and I don't think people pay attention enough to those around us. Like, we don't notice, like, you never notice that they're going through something, or...
Yeah, and I think another big thing to include, too, is that the most common thing you hear is, like, I didn't expect it to happen at that time, or I didn't expect it to happen at all. So even if you are paying attention, and it seems like you absolutely were, because you said you weren't surprised that it had happened, you were just surprised that it happened then, because you had talked to her the day before, is that sometimes, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, sometimes there's just nothing you can do. And you don't need to feel guilty, and you don't need to carry that around with you like somehow you let someone down because they made a decision. Because sometimes you could have done everything that you could have, and still it's the bottom line is it's not up to you in the end, So don't feel like there's ever going to be a weight that you have to carry around on your shoulders, because, if you did everything you could, then you can still be sad and miss your friend. But it's just something that, it happens. And regardless of whether or not you've done everything you can, it can still happen. So that's the last thing we'll say about it. And we'll move on to the next email.
Cool. This one's from Sarah, and it's fairly long. There's 2 stories in it. So what we're going to do is split it between this episode and the next Storytime episode, I think. And so this one goes, hey guys, hello. I absolutely love the podcast. I found it on Spotify about a week ago, so more like a month and a half or
about 2 months at this point.
Ago.
Yeah.
I found it on Spotify about a week ago after looking like crazy for a scary podcast. You guys are exactly what I was looking for. Thank you so much.
That's really good to hear.
People who share others and their personal stories and don't take it too seriously! ! It's perfectly relaxed and helps me pass the time at work. Plus, you guys are relationship goals. I hate you.
I hate you too.
The way you interact with each other reminds me of my parents, who are the definition of love. Oh, that's so sweet.
That is
I
really
love
nice.
when parents are like that. And just recently celebrated their 29th anniversary.
Wow.
That's so cute. That's so awesome.
29
Congratulations.
I'm 33, so they've been married almost as long as I've been alive.
They have been married longer than I've been alive.
Wow. Well, good for you.
So I think you guys have the real thing. That's really cute. But I plan on murdering him and throwing him in a dumpster. So.
And then you'll hear about us on My Favorite Murder.
Anyway, I almost don't know where to start because I have a grocery list full of scary, odd situations happen to me. It follows me. So we expect to see all these stories, right?
All right.
Send us all these stories.
We have 2 on this one email, so that's a good sign. That's a good way to start.
Feel free to share on the pod, and feel free to break up my stories or share whichever one you guys find most interesting. We are definitely going to split them up because I feel like that's right.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'll try my best to keep it as organized as I can. It's pretty organized. I mean, it's clearly labeled. You did a good job.
Each story even has its own title.
Right. So the story we're going to read today is called My Quote Unquote Death Dreams, which I thought was funny because you did your dream email, and these are not planned.
A lot of times these things just match up.
They just match up, yeah. This story should be rather short and happened when I was about 6 years old. I remember that it was the night before my mother's birthday, and I went to bed only to fall into one of the most vivid dreams I've ever had. My dream took no time to build up the dramatics. I was just thrown in. It took me a moment to realize where I was. My mother was pulling me along by the arm while we were racing down a hallway. After a moment, I realized we were in the hospital. I kept asking my mom why we were there, but she wouldn't answer me. The next thing I knew, I was next to a hospital bed. For some reason, this bed was extremely high, and I was unable to see over it no matter how much I tried. I was unable to see who was in it. My mother was to my right, still ignoring me as she sobbed uncontrollably. I don't like where this is going. Despite my continuous plea for my mother to tell me who was in the bed, it was all for nothing. I then noticed a heart monitor. I remember that it was moving really quickly, and it seemed to make the beeping noise it made, and it kept getting more intense with every second that passed. Then it flatlined. Oh, God. The atmosphere seems to move slow, and the bright hospital lights seemed so much dimmer. It was as if the person in the bed was the source of the light. That's intense. My mother dropped to her knees, and a feeling of dread washed over me. My mom then stood up, pulled me out of the room without telling me who passed away. I woke up to my mom telling me I needed to get ready for school. I completely forgot about the dream. That night, we went to dinner to celebrate my mother's birthday. We got home, and I remember my mother went into the house first and listened to the answering machine. I don't really know why it took so long for my father, brother, and I to follow, but she had enough time to listen to the message, and she yelled for my father to keep my brother and I outside. I then found out within the next few minutes that my grandfather had died from a massive heart attack.
Wow.
While we were out celebrating my mother's birthday. I was shocked for 2 reasons. The first one being the fact that my grandfather had passed away, but second being that I had a dream about it. For many years, I felt as if it was my fault because I dreamt it up. When I was about 11, I told my mom, and we both cried together. The same thing happened with my grandma Annie, as well as one of my close friends' mothers. The day before they died, I had a dream that someone died. I'm never ever able to see who it is. These dreams have their own special feeling to them, so whenever I have them, I know someone will probably pass away the day I wake up. That's horrible.
Yeah, that's really hard to handle.
I was just told recently from my dad that his mother, who died when he was only 19, had dreams like me. However, with my grandma Cara, when she dreamt of a field of daisies, she knew someone was going to pass. And that's the end of the story. That's so crazy that to have to, if I had those dreams and I knew someone was going to die, it's like you just wait to see it happen or wait for it to happen.
Yeah, and you worry all day about who it's going to be. That's I don't know, that'd be really hard to deal with.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I've mentioned on the podcast before, I had I used to get really, really bad gut feelings and feel like something was seriously wrong. And I'd always tell someone that's how I felt. And it's happened multiple times, when something has happened, something's gone wrong, or something was about to happen. And it's really, really weird being someone who's as skeptical as I am and having to deal with that growing up. So when I listen to stuff like that, I understand other people being super skeptical of it, but I also understand from personal experience, sometimes you just know something's very, very wrong or something's about to go very wrong and you can't explain why.
Right.
And I honestly, I've told the story too about the owl coming to visit me the night my grandfather died. And from then on, every time I see an owl, I warn people, hey, check, call your family and just check and make sure everyone's okay. And it's only happened a couple of times, but each time it's like a messenger. It's a harbinger of something that's about to happen. Yeah. So, yeah, dealing with that shit and having it be such a vivid, intense dream of someone dying and not being able to see who it is, that's got to be really hard to deal with. So,
yeah, I can't have that pressure on me. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. It's nice to know that the deaths that you've experienced haven't all had a dream precursor, because then you'd just be terrified a lot. And then it sounds like it's only happened a few times. So fingers crossed you don't have that dream anytime soon.
Especially don't dream about us, thanks.
Wow.
Okay, so I think I'm just going to go into my topic because your topic is so big and huge. And
yeah, I decided to do a topic and you guys can already see it. So I'm doing the death of Elisa Lamb. I keep wanting to call her Eliza.
No, it's Elisa.
But it's Elisa Lamb, and I have a lot to go over. So go ahead and go first, and then I'll jump in after.
Okay. So I did mine on a couple little monsters here. And, I mean, they're far from little, but...
little known, maybe?
Little known. So I had never actually heard of this first one before I started researching it. And it's something really interesting to me and I thought really funny. So I was really entertained while reading all this stuff. And just all I was thinking of jokes. I looked over.
So you have a very joke heavy script.
I looked over at Adam. I was like, this one's just going to be full of jokes.
And I'm just cool. I'm reading Corners reports over here. I'm good, bring some levity into this episode.
Okay, so I'm doing it on the Encantado, and I'm so sorry for butchering any pronunciation. I am not good at it. It's also known as the Mohana. Maybe that's easier to pronounce. I'm not sure.
Isn't that a movie about that
No,
girl?
That's Moana.
I love that movie.
Anyway, it's a water creature that lives in the Amazon in the largest river of South America. The Encantado seems to mean enchanted one. So,
doesn't sound too
magical.
evil or anything yet. That's good.
These cryptids are, in essence, were-dolphins.
Were-dolphins. So they can be people then. They're people that can transform into dolphins.
Yeah. But
that is awesome.
When I read were-dolphins, I was just like, don't laugh. Don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh.
I just want to swim out and get bit by one because it'll make things so much faster if I could travel like that.
Dolphin Man. He's the hero we don't deserve.
I hate you.
But that we need right now.
So much. I imagine what are they called again? Encantado?
Encantado, yeah.
I imagine one of the Encantado is that video that you've seen online of that dolphin who jumps out of the wave and knocks that fucking surfer down.
The surfboard.
Yeah,
oh, that's
a person that was that is a person turned dolphin who was like, I'm gonna nail this dude.
I just am thinking of when this podcast gets older and gets put in like a time capsule somewhere, they're gonna like listen to this episode and it's gonna be like, what video? A dolphin knocked over someone off a
What's
surfboard?
the internet?
What's a surfboard?
I'm out of here, guys. Hover boots activate.
Okay, so
I just turned into the Jetsons really fast. You're welcome.
So the Encantado can be found in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, Salvador, and the Amazonias. Is that how you say it?
Sure. I'm leaning,
Amazonias?
I don't know. I'm leaning on you for the pronunciation during this episode. So.
Okay. So they are supposedly friends of local fishermen in the Amazonian region, but they also have a bit of a dark side. So, it sounds fun and games and everything, were dolphins. But we'll see. So
we'll see. You already know.
They supposedly help with fishing and guiding of canoes safely during storms.
That's cool.
There are even some that say the Encantado have power over the storms themselves, which is interesting. It's said that they help those who are drowning and take them out of the river. I just imagine you're struggling in the river and
a dolphin saves you.
You see a dolphin coming at you. And I just want you guys, if you've watched Moana, just imagine Maui with his dolphin, with his like shark head, where he has the shark head and torso, but it's like a dolphin.
Right.
And it talks to you. And it talks to you. And it's just like, yo, dog.
Way to steal my line.
Yo, dog. I saw you drowning and thought you could use some help.
I hate you so much.
How do dolphins sound?
No, I guess that works. I just can't believe you're doing it. It's like, I'm not doing this anymore. That sounded like a sheep.
But I would freak out. You know what I mean? I would be like, oh my God, a dolphin's talking to me. Wait, I'm drowning still.
I would just assume that I've drowned and am dead and I'm having a really weird like dream
You're tripping,
while I'm dying.
like
yeah.
an acid trip. Wait. Kids, don't do acid. It's not good for you. I just wanted to put
Good
that out
PSA
there.
apparently.
But then you imagine this dolphin like scooping you up in its big dolphin fins and then walks you to shore on its like nice
This
man
is just
legs.
a weird vision you're giving everyone.
I just like, that's what I see when I think like were dolphin.
And then when it sets you down on the shore, it sings "You're welcome."
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. That's amazing. Watch Moana. It's so good, guys. Just watch it. Okay, then it disappears like a mystery hero. It'd be awesome.
Like a mystery hero.
Mystery hero. It's like, this dolphin just came out of nowhere and saved me, but he had man legs. It was great. Anyway, that's not what they actually look like. So
Thank you for that image of what they don't look like.
that's what I thought of when I was like, were dolphin? That's what it should be. But you excited, right? Got you excited?
I guess, yeah, but now I might be disappointed with what it actually is.
It would be way cooler, in my opinion, if that's what it really was. They're pretty normal, I think. Were dolphins are the coolest idea ever. Apparently, every year in June, during Festa Junina, which is like a celebration in
June.
Brazil. Oh, is that what that is?
I'm guessing.
Oh, dear God, I'm dumb. Okay. Well, I can see that now. Thanks.
You're welcome.
The Encantado transforms from a pink river dolphin into a man. And there are some legends that say that they can stay in their human form for years.
It's like Rumspringer, but for dolphins.
Yeah.
Okay.
They choose whether or not they want to be dolphins again. Now, it's different from the woman in white that, hangs out in rivers and stuff.
And drowns babies.
This one is a man in white, but with a telltale blowhole.
Where is it located?
On their head. Where do you think it'd be located?
I would think if he's transforming into human form and I was trying to hide myself, I'd make it my belly button and I wouldn't blow until like no one was looking.
It's on their head. So because of their inability to hide this, they have to wear a hat to cover their blowhole, right?
I'm assuming they're bald then? They don't have hair?
It's also thought that hidden bald spots under hats are a sign of an Encantado.
Okay.
So, those bald guys you see wearing hats on the street.
They're actually dolphins.
They're actually dolphins.
You're welcome, bald people.
But maybe that's why so many people refuse to take their hats off inside.
Maybe. Or they're just fucking rude.
Yeah, I was about to say, people, hats indoors are incredibly rude. Don't do it. Just take them off when you get inside. I get it. You want to wear your fashionable baseball cap or whatever, but take it off when you're inside. I can't stand it.
I don't agree with this sentiment. I wear my hat to hide my horrible hair. So if I go indoors and I'm wearing a hat, it's because my hair is all fucked up. So
you guys see like military personnel all the time. As soon as they get in, they take their hats off.
Yeah, they're supposed to take off their cover, but I'm not in the military.
Yeah,
so I
you're
leave
just
my hat
hella
on
rude
to cover my nasty ass hair if it's all greasy.
Maybe you shouldn't have nasty ass hair.
Whatever. Not everyone can just spray dry shampoo in their hair and then use a million bobby pins and then shed them all day like a cat shedding fur.
Well, anybody can do that.
I guess that's true. Anyone could.
You want me to
Unless
put bobby
you're allergic
pins?
to all
I'll
those
put bobby
things.
pins in your hair.
No, I'm allergic to bobby pins.
Okay. This has been your daily dose of etiquette. Tip your hosts. That's us. Tip us.
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, during the festivities, it's important to keep your eye out for these creatures and to keep your distance because they are friendly most of the time, but during parties and balls, they will seduce, kidnap, and impregnate young women. So you're safe, Adam.
That's good. I'm glad to know I'm not going to get pregnant with a dolphin baby.
They'll take you to their underground city of Encantado, and don't worry, they do it out of love.
Is it underwater or underground?
Underground.
Okay. So
they fall in love with these women, and then they're like, I'm going to take you back to my underground lair, pump baby into you. So that's how that works.
This is just so weird. This is one of the weirdest legends I've ever heard.
I know. That's why when I read it, I was like, this is the weirdest shit I've ever researched. Like my internet history, my poor internet history. Anyway, some women do escape and return pregnant with Encantado babies. Not surprised. So dolphin babies, anyone? Dolphin babies? No, you don't want one?
Are they gonna come out human and eventually turn into a dolphin? Or are they gonna come out dolphin and eventually turn into a human?
They would come out dolphin and then turn into a human.
So why don't we have reports of dolphin babies being born in these places?
Out of people? I don't know. A new species of dolphin human hybrids, maybe.
I hate you.
Again, dolphin tops, human bottoms. The reverse mermaid.
I hate you so much.
Okay. I think it sounds sexy.
Sexy?
You don't think that sounds
sexy? It's a
sexy?
dolphin top. How is that sexy?
Like the fins and the...
No, I don't think that's
hand
sexy.
Gestures. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't seem like the Encantado have too many magic powers or anything. They just have like...
They're just a walking, talking, living fucking dolphin that turns into a human.
Shape-shifting abilities. Oh, man. Just imagine walking... Like, you meet this guy at a party, and they're just, like, talking to you regularly, and all of a sudden they talk dolphin, and they're just like, oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, I have to clear my throat out.
I don't want to imagine that, because it makes me want to do the voice again, and I sound like a goat when I do it.
It's like the episode of How I Met Your Mother where they're like, Barney, pick up some women...
Only speaking dolphin? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, if you run into any hot, eligible bachelors at these festivals, it's probably going to be an Encantado.
Check for the blowhole, and I think you'll be okay.
Stay safe from dolphin impregnation.
That just means use protection. That's really all what that means.
I'm going to make that into a sticker. Stay safe from dolphin impregnation. I think that's great.
Okay. I will say, I don't think we're going to cross-pollinate and accidentally, double someone else's slogan, so we don't have to worry about that.
You think so?
I think it's the first time any of those words have been uttered together, so yeah.
Okay, good. Cool. Yes, I got this. Anyway, it's thought that shamans have had to deal with Encantados when they begin inflicting harm on humans. So they've been known to inflict illness, insanity, and even death on people. I don't know why. They're just like, humans, gross. Dolphins, yes.
Maybe they're swimming around and they get to that giant island of garbage. And they're like, I'm going to go impregnate someone and then kill someone else.
Holy shiz. That makes so much sense.
It's like that episode of Simpsons on I was about to say their homegrown horror. Their Treehouse of Horror episodes where the dolphins rise to take over the land again because they used to own the land.
They're Encantados.
Yeah, it's probably from this
snap.
legend. Someone heard this and they're like, I'm making an episode out of this.
The legend seems to be told as a way to warn children to stay away from dangerous waters or women from raucous parties.
Wow, 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yep. And the fear of these dolphin creatures is so great that those living near the Amazon River, adults and children alike, are terrified to go near the water between dusk and dawn or entering the water alone. And although the Encantado may be said to be friends to some fishermen in the Amazonian region, some say that they've encountered them in canoes and are said to have gone insane from just being nudged periodically.
Wow.
Yeah. So, fuck.
I think if you're encountering one of them, you've probably gone insane before you were being nudged, because that sounds insane. So,
yep.
Yeah, that's probably the craziest legend that we've had on the show yet.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
It's my favorite. Weird dolphin.
I'll get you a belt or a trophy or something.
Make me a trophy. Okay, and then my second one is really short. It's about the Maricoxi. It's another monster / mystery cryptid / undiscovered tribe of peoples from South America. They're supposedly ape-like submen found in numbers in the jungles of South America. They are known by many other names, but the Maricoxi, or Coxi, or however you pronounce it, is the most common. And apparently, since the Portuguese and Spanish had arrived in South America, reports of these beasts have been coming out of the region. I'm not sure who was there before. Do you know?
I don't know.
I don't know either. There must have been people before, but I'm not a history buff type
or an
person.
anthropologist
I'm not an
or anything
anthropologist.
like that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. But one of the more famous stories about the Maricoxi, that's how I'm going to say it. I know it's wrong somewhere in there. Fuck my life. But one of the most famous stories is from a man named Colonel P.H. Fawcett. His eldest son disappeared from the area, and his disappearance is still unexplained. But during the colonel's adventures, he kept a diary up until his last expedition, where he died, and his son Brian Fawcett published all his journals under the title Lost Trails, Lost Cities. In these journals, the colonel describes his encounter with a group of enormous, hairy, quote-unquote, savages in 1914, that although they looked like savages, they were carrying bows and arrows, and they couldn't speak. They only grunted. The Maricoxi appeared in their village, and the colonel and his group had to shoot their guns at the 8 men's feet in order to scare them off. And I think this kind of gives credit to his group that they didn't just murder them all.
Yeah, that's probably a good sign.
But then it would have been cool if they had caught one, you know?
You wish they would have caught one.
Yeah.
And experimented on him.
Not experimented, but, researched.
That's experimented.
Research. I guess. I don't think it's research. Maybe.
I don't think it's research
either.
I
think it's research. I don't think it's an experiment. I think it's just like you catch it, like people do with like other apes and monkeys and stuff. They, keep them in captivity, look at them, look at their actions.
Test beauty products on them. I know where you're going with this.
Oh my God, you're dumb. In 1925, Fawcett and his men all disappeared while on an expedition
What the fuck?
to find a lost city. And some theorize that they were killed by local tribes or died of starvation. Despite this, there are still those that say they were killed by Maricoxi, even though no evidence has been found.
Just because they said that they found them the one time, so they're like, oh, they must have been killed by them then.
I guess, but there are a lot of reports of these things. They're described as being 2 to 6 feet tall, some being up to 12 feet tall. But I think that's just getting into like Bigfoot territory.
I'm saying this is a big range. 2 to 6 feet is a huge range, so it's like children to adults, but 12 feet is like giant size.
So let me get there. I guess there's just this must be, to me, it's like a variation of the Sasquatch legends. It's like another Bigfoot, but they run small. They're just like little.
They're average feet.
Yes, I guess. They seem to be especially aggressive to humans. Like, they just rush them on sight when they see them, which is insane. They're like little Ewoks.
Are they? They sound like big Ewoks to me.
Well, 2 to 6 feet. How big are Ewoks?
Ewoks are tiny. Ewoks are like 2 feet max.
Yeah. Well, so it's a bunch of, like, if they had the 2-foot ones running around, it'd be like a bunch of little cute Ewoks.
Yeah, but I mean, you just need a gold robot with you, and then they'll worship you like a god, and you'll be fine.
This is true. According to locals, there are 5 variants of the Maricoxi, so that might be why there's 2 to 6 feet, and then there's a big 12-foot one.
Right.
One of which has their feet facing backwards.
That's odd.
Weird. It's so weird. Like, if someone made this up, why would you make it up?
Yeah, those are weird details
so I'm just
to include.
Like, all right. But I have seen some ugly iterations of these dudes. Like, they look gross. I would never want to see one. I'm good. But yeah, that is the Maricoxi of South America.
Right on. Those are both very interesting legends that I've never heard of before. So good work. Mine are not nearly as lighthearted, or I should say mine as in just the one, lighthearted or fancy-free. But I did do quite a bit of research on this one. I originally went into it and like I had heard about this, but it was something that I kept kind of being pulled back to. I actually was going back and forth between 2 topics. I kind of wanted to do the bloop. And I know I've mentioned on a previous episode that I wanted to do the bloop. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's a really loud noise that was recorded underwater. Supposedly like the loudest noise ever recorded underwater, and what it came from. And originally people thought that it was some sort of underwater sea creature. And then science has basically concluded at this point that it's most likely the sound of ice shelves, like large,
so you're
massive
just going through
ices
the entire topic
cracking. And eventually I'll get around to that. So I just want to, because if you just tell people like you're going to do the bloop, like what is that when you poke someone in the nose? No, that's a boop. Get your shit together. So I'll probably do that a different week. But this week I kept going back to a different one, getting more and more curious, and then doing more research. And I was like, I'm just going to write about this one instead. And a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this because this was all over the place when it happened. So this week I will be covering the mysterious death of Elisa Lam. And for those of you who haven't heard about this yet, you're probably asking, who the hell is Elisa Lam? So, well, dear listener, Elisa Lam was a Canadian student who had attended the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And she was 21 during the events that I'm about to unfold to you. Side note, she's sometimes referred to by her Cantonese name, Lam Ho Yi. I think I said that correctly. Lam, L-A-M, Ho, H-O, Yi, Y-I. So I'm looking at Robin. She hasn't said no yet.
That sounds right.
Cool.
I don't know.
I think some people that hear that instead of Elisa have this idea to, or they have this tendency to identify her or misidentify her as an individual who wound up in a situation she didn't understand because she didn't understand the culture or the language. And this is not the case, like, at all. So, like, when I tell you about this story, I want you to picture this person, because when I heard this story, and the way I heard it, like, everyone kept telling me details about her, about Elisa, but they never told me, like, who she was. So it was always like, oh, it was this Asian chick, or oh, it was this chick that had this disorder, or oh, it was this, or oh, it was that. But it wasn't like a person, basically. It was a list of the labels that are given to people. And honestly, like, when I've heard that, like, it really pisses me off, because none of those things are really relevant. So they also like to mention these medical conditions, like they explain the bizarre details surrounding her death when they don't. So instead of picturing this generic person with a bunch of bullshit labels, picture an actual person, like a person with friends and family and parents and hopes and dreams. And, like, first of all, she was born in Vancouver. So yes, she's Asian, but she's from Canada. She was born in Canada. She's a red-blooded Canadian, which probably means she was overly polite and friendly to everyone, because that's how pretty much every Canadian I've ever met is.
Okay.
And her parents were immigrants who came to Vancouver by way of Hong Kong. So they immigrated to a completely different part of the world, and they started over, and they owned a restaurant. And that's what her family was like, you know, and I think that that's relatable for some people, especially one sitting right next to me. I mean, your parents don't own a restaurant, but they were immigrants as well, and you were born in America, and you're like 100% American. So she was attending university, which I think most of us can picture, a 21-year-old that's going to university, and any of us that have attended university / college or whatever you call it know the level of hell that it can put a person through.
Right.
And as a side note, I grew up calling it college. Robin calls it university. I switched because university sounds classier, but they mean the same thing. It's a giant scam, so you can start your life out with a mountain of debt that you'll struggle to pay back for probably 20 years.
That's how I feel right now.
So
dying inside.
It's just the way things are, and it's stupid. But anyways, Elisa was also a blogger, and her blog called Ether Fields was a collection of a lot of things. She started out on, I think, Blogspot and eventually moved it over to Tumblr.
Right.
She had pictures of the places that she visited because she did travel. She posted pictures of fancy clothes for all the fashion-oriented people and models showing off all of these fancy clothes. I'm not a fashion-oriented people because she was interested in it, you know?
Oh, wow.
She's a person with interests. And she posted about herself, like lots of people do. Like, everyone posts about their day and shit like that on Facebook or Twitter. And what I think is most telling about the type of person that she was is the fact that she wasn't afraid to travel and experience things. Because I've met so many people who always say they want to travel, but they come up with every excuse in the world to not go anywhere. So she wasn't that type of person. Like, she would also travel to some of these places alone, which is like crazy,
That's scary,
fucking brave, dude. Like,
I can't imagine going alone
and experiencing like a brand new place and you don't know anyone around you, you know?
Well, like, imagine if I'd gone to Japan by myself, I would have freaked out, not been able to do anything, was worried people would
You would have
bug me
eaten
all
the
time.
food in the world and gotten shit-faced every night, but you would have been okay. Like, I moved across the country, and when I moved across the country from like the Chicagoland area, I loaded 3 bags in my trunk of my clothes and drove to San Francisco. And I was like, I'm going to be a writer. I'm moving. I want to do everything. Like, I want to start a new life somewhere where I don't know anyone and experience that for that experience. And I remember, like, the most lost I've ever felt was the moment I pulled into a gas station right after I got to San Francisco after driving for like 2.5 days. And there was this overwhelming thought of like, oh my God, like, what have I done? What am I doing here? And it's really, really scary. And it's a little bit different for me because it wasn't a vacation. I was relocating my life to have that experience. So at some point, I'm sure like Elisa felt that too. Like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? I should just go home. And it's easy to cut a vacation short, you know? But to push through that feeling in a completely unknown place, knowing no one around, like, you have to be a badass. And she clearly was.
Yeah.
So her blog had something else too. She would post about her struggle with her mental illness. And like right away, I know hearing that some of you probably went like, oh, like she's crazy. And I just want to say like, no, dude, like just stop. Like take that thought out of your head. This was a college student who had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And this is probably like the most common thing I've ever heard is a college student who's been diagnosed with bipolar or manic depressive or whatever the fuck you call it. And it's really annoying because like it's a young adult who's the offspring of immigrants suffering from and struggling with depression, and she moves back and forth between depression and the possibility of becoming manic. And a lot of people who get diagnosed with bipolar never become manic. It's just the fact that they can become depressed and not depressed very, very quickly. And a lot of times you're misdiagnosed. Like there's so many people that get diagnosed with bipolar disorder who don't experience mania and are never close to being in a psychotic state. So like it kind of pisses me off when you talk about someone and you say that label and like the world just decides that person's crazy. Like I've seen people that aren't diagnosed with any conditions complain about how their whole world is falling apart and they have nothing left, and they post on fucking Facebook or Twitter and they're like, goodbye cruel world, and then the fucking next day they're out partying like the fucking world is ending and they're like, it's the best day of my life. It's like, that to me is more bipolar than someone or most people I know that have been diagnosed with like a disorder like that. And those people just get called dramatic because they'd never ask someone to diagnose them and give them an official label. So all I'm saying here is don't judge her. Like, just picture her as this person that she is, this 21-year-old college student with a shit ton of stress, and she's trying to find her way, have friends, have relationships, travel, and figure out her future all at once. And she's also, the daughter of immigrants, and I'm sure that comes with a whole other boatload of stress.
Yeah.
So I think we can all agree that sounds like an incredibly familiar person. You can probably picture a person like that. And other things to note about her before we go on, she wasn't suicidal. She never had a history of suicide or suicide ideation or a suicide fantasy, like people that post about that shit all the time. She wasn't that person. And in January of 2012, she posted on her blog about suffering a relapse right when her semester had started. And she wound up having to drop multiple classes because of that. And this is one of the things that she posted. She stated that she felt, quote, so utterly directionless and lost. Which, if you can't relate to her yet, I think just that fucking sentence right there, everyone's felt that way at one point. And one quote that she used on her post What she would later use as like the quote that you can put on the top of your blog was a Chuck Palahniuk quote, and it was, "You're always haunted by the idea you're wasting your life." And just as a side note, don't ever feel that way. Like, I totally understand that haunting feeling, but like, whatever you're doing, if it's important to you, it's not a waste. If someone else tells you a waste, fuck them. And if you're doing something that isn't important to you and there's a change that you want to make but you're afraid to make it, just do it, man. Like, just make it. Like, you're more brave than you can ever imagine once you realize that you can just get out of your own way. So I think that's something that people need to do. And the perfect example of this is the person she was quoting, Chuck Palahniuk, because he was an author who wrote a story, and I love this story, by the way. This is why this is, a lot of tangents, but this is why I wanted to tell you guys this. Is like, he wrote a book called Invisible Monsters, and when he submitted it to a publisher, the publishers rejected it. They fucking hated it. And that idea of putting yourself out there and investing yourself into something only to be rejected, whether it's like in a personal relationship or like a project like that, is terrifying. And that's why a lot of people don't do shit, And here this guy is, and he's experiencing like this super great fear that he has. So the publisher came back with all the things and the themes that they didn't like in the book. So what did he do? Instead of backing off of the things the publisher didn't like, he amped it the fuck up. He started a new project, and at first it was just a short story, and then it became a novel. So he decided he's going to submit them this new novel, and it's like a fuck you to the publisher. Like,
what was it?
Well, he decided he was going to send them this story of all the things that they didn't like amplified to the next level. And guess what? They fucking published it, and you know what it's called? Fight Club.
What?
Yeah. And that's just the idea of like, this guy had the quote, "You're always haunted by the idea that you're wasting your life." And this guy tried and failed. And from that failure, he just decided to say, you know what? Fuck you. And that attitude is what brought him success. I think just about everyone knows what Fight Club is. It's a book and a movie.
I love Chuck Palahniuk books. Like, go read Haunted. That one's a really good one. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't. And it's just, it's super cool. And I think it's funny that she took the quote, probably that he had when he was like showing people like what people are usually afraid of. But she's not at a good spot at the beginning of 2012. So by January 2013, she's not registered for classes at university anymore. So we don't know if she's taking a semester off or what's going on, but she decided to travel. She decides she's going to go on a trip. And she decides to go it alone. So she hops on some public transit, mixes it up between buses and Amtrak, and next thing you know, she's in San Diego, which, FYI, we're going to be in 72 hours.
Oh so, my God, are we?
Yeah, we're going to San Diego.
Holy
that's
crap.
where we're going to be on Wednesday. So she does what most people in San Diego do. She goes to the fucking zoo. She goes to San Diego Zoo. She takes pictures. She posts them on social media. Like, she's not doing the things that you would associate with a person who's, like, super depressed or hiding from the world,
Yeah.
After that, she heads to L.A., which sounds identical to a trip that Rob and I took a couple of years ago. We went to San Diego, went to San Diego Zoo, and then we went to L.A. And the major difference between our trip and her trip is that, well, there's a lot, but the one where it deviates here is that we stayed with friends when we went to L.A., and I don't know if you know, but L.A. is fucking crazy expensive. It's super expensive. So
Jinx.
Elisa didn't stay with friends. She checked into a hotel. And when you're going on a trip like this, you try and keep the cost down in any way she can, which she did. And she wound up checking in on January 28th, 2013 to the Cecil Hotel.
Hotels are something you should not skimp on. Like, $49 a night, not worth it.
So
you will get murdered.
If you don't know what the Cecil Hotel is or why this should matter, well, dear listener, the Cecil Hotel, or as it's currently known, Stay on Main, is supposedly haunted as fuck. Side note, it's not open right now. They're renovating it again.
What?
Yeah, because it's a rundown shithole. We actually know someone who stayed there.
Yeah, I mean, my sister stayed there.
Yeah.
And you have to pay extra to get your own private bathroom.
Or it's a shared bathroom.
Or it's a shared bathroom on the hall, on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's like, ew, just gross.
So you're probably like, okay, Adam, you're giving me all this background. You might have heard this story before on True Crime, which is weird because there's no definitive anything about any of this. And people thought that this was very supernatural when it happened. And this is where the supernatural element really comes in. Because the hotel itself has a history of deaths and murders. And most of them remain unexplained to this day. But there's a lot of them that are known of. So rather than go into each one of these in detail, because there is a metric fuck ton of these, I'm going to go ahead and just speed round some of these. So As a side note, this hotel was originally constructed in 1924. 5 years later, the Great Depression hit. So,
wow.
Great Depression hits, everyone kind of knows lots of people were killing themselves at that time. So that explains some of these early deaths' motivations. But let's just get into some dates here. So 1931, a man kills himself in the hotel by ingesting poison capsules he brought with him.
Wow.
Same year, man shoots himself in his own room. 1934, 3 years later, a man killed himself in his own room by taking a straight razor and cutting open his own throat.
What?
1937, a woman fell, and it is unknown if it was intentional or not, because there was not a suicide note left. She fell from her window. She landed on the telephone wires connecting the hotel to another pole, and she became wrapped up in them. She actually didn't die on the scene, but later died from injuries in the hospital. 1944, this one is really fucked up. A 19-year-old woman threw her newborn son from the hotel window to his death.
What the heck?
1954. A woman jumped from her 7th floor window and hit the fucking marquee of the hotel, damaging it. A person who saw it happen was so shaken by how disturbing the woman's death was that they were taken to the hospital. After seeing it, they were in hysterics, not laughing, like freaking the fuck out. Her name was Helen Gurney, and I mentioned her name in particular because I didn't mention the other ones because her room she jumped from was room 704. She was later, after her death, shit-talked in the press. Like, people were shitty about her and how she chose to kill herself. And people say that they still see her in the hotel and that she haunts the room that she leapt from.
Wow.
So people request to stay in room
like,
704.
Wow, this is insane.
And there's more. 1962, a man walking by the hotel dies suddenly. And you're probably thinking, what happened? Heart failure? Do you think it was a ghost? No, it's not a heart failure. A fucking woman jumped from a goddamn window on the 9th floor after a fight with her husband and landed on him. They both died. He didn't break her fall. She broke him, and they died. 1964, 2 years later, this one's fucking crazy. This one's like an actual unsolved murder this time. A woman was beaten, stabbed, raped, and killed in her room. And although there was a suspect charged, he was later released, and it's still unsolved to this day. And it's crazy because the things that I was able to find on that case is like everyone loved her and no one knew why anyone would do that to her. In the 80s, Richard Ramirez, or the serial killer known as the Night Stalker, liked to stay in the Cecil Hotel, and people kind of know that about the Cecil Hotel. He was staying there during his killing spree. And then later on in the early 90s, a serial killer by the name of Jack Unterweger stayed there. Not sure if I got your name right. If I didn't, go fuck yourself because you're a piece of human garbage. He killed 3 sex workers there via strangulation.
Jesus.
And in 2010, a firefighter who had recently won Paramedic of the Year stated while he was responding to a distress call, he was stabbed. What? No assailant was ever located, and the cops eventually said that his statement was inconsistent and closed the fucking case.
Wow.
So there's all these bizarre things. There's a ton more deaths, by the way.
Well, so I don't know if any of you guys watch American Horror Story.
Spoilers for the rest of my script.
Oh, really?
No, keep going. It's fine.
Okay. But season 5, the hotel one,
Hotel Cortez.
Yeah, the Hotel Cortez is literally based off of the Hotel Cecil, and it's just insane. Like, what happens in this hotel.
Small hotel too? It's not a big hotel.
No,
it's 15
small.
floors, and it's not wide or anything like that.
No. So, and it's just the fact that a whole entire season of American Horror Story, and I'm sorry, American Horror Story is one of the scariest shows. Just because it creeps me out. The fact that a whole season is based off of it's like a big deal. This hotel's like has so much that has happened to it. It's insane.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that too, because there were more deaths than just this. These are just some of the ones that I could locate details for online. And guests of all sorts claim paranormal activity while staying at the hotel. Even passerby on the street claim to see what appears to be individuals hanging onto the windows on the side of the building as if they're going to jump, but they disappear. There's actually a photograph I found.
Really?
It kind of looks fake, and it was taken by one of the passerbys who thought someone was attempting to kill themselves, and they were hanging from the 4th floor. Like, multiple people reported this, so I don't know if someone just faked the picture, but this is something that people have documented before, that people said, like, we thought someone was going to jump, and then all of a sudden he wasn't there. So I don't know if, like, they all looked away and he snuck back in the window, or what the hell happened.
Yeah.
But this is just some of the paranormal activity that happens in the hotel. And, of course, this brings us to January 28th, 2013. So Elisa is on her trip, and she just arrived in LA from San Diego. And on the 28th, she checks into the Cecil Hotel. Now, to give her story some more context so you guys can picture her as a person and not just a group of labels, this wasn't a kid like running away from all of her responsibilities. While she's on vacation, she's making daily phone calls to her parents to check in to let them know, she's okay.
She's a good Asian.
She's a good Asian, yeah. And when she checked in, she was given a shared room on the 5th floor. And like Robin talked about with the shared bathrooms, they had shared rooms to sleep in. Like other people were also in the room. This is 5 years ago. This isn't something that's like, oh my God, like I can't believe what happened back in those days. Like, no, this is 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So the individuals that she was staying with complained to the hotel staff about Elisa's odd behavior. On the 30th, so only 2 days later, she was moved to a single occupancy room so she could be in a room by herself.
Okay.
So the people she was staying with were like, she is very odd. And I think that people immediately decided to attribute that to the fact that she has bipolar disorder, and they're like, okay, she's acting really weird, so clearly all the stuff that's about to follow just fits into the category of, well, okay, she's weird, so that's just what happens to weird people.
I wonder if she was taking her medication.
That's the thing, and I will get to this.
Okay.
So she gets her own room, and then on January 31st, her parents became concerned because she didn't call them to check in. And this was the day she was supposed to check out of the hotel. And the timeline gets a little bit inconsistent here for me, so I had to do some research. But Elisa was supposed to check out. I keep wanting to say Eliza. Elisa was supposed to check out of the hotel on January 31st. And every place I've ever been to, when you check out, you need to be out by 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. So she should have been out of that place in the morning. And hotel staff say that they saw her that day. And they said that she was alone, which isn't surprising because she was traveling alone. And no one knew what happened. So her family contacted the LAPD to report her missing. And now there are multiple reports, or there are multiple things, I should say, that are famous about this case, and almost none of them are good. So the search began for Elisa, and no one had heard from her since January 31st.
Okay.
There was a woman across the street in a shop who said she came in to buy books, and she was buying souvenirs for friends and family. She had a conversation with her. The chick described her as very happy, very interesting, and very excited. And they talked about the different things. She wanted a book for herself, and she was trying to find a book that was interesting but not too heavy because she had to carry it everywhere she went.
Okay.
So these are logical thoughts that she's going through, you know? That a person that's in like a psychotic state or that's manic usually can't make those like simple steps to connect things together.
Right.
And usually they come off as, crazy to people. And the roommates thought she was acting odd, but this woman across the street was like, no,
she's
dude,
fine.
she was super nice. Like, maybe she was just over the top. So let's like take a step back and just stop really fast and be like, okay, we know she had these disorders.
Okay.
We know that she was, active and she's going around. These people thought she was acting odd, but the person across the street's like, no, she's just super energetic and she's super happy. So that said, we'll move on to the rest of it. So, Elisa's family, damn it. They flew out to LA to help look for her. Because at this point, they're really, really worried because no one's heard from her and they can't get a hold of her. And the last known place that she was seen by anyone, or anything, I should say, was in the elevator inside the Cecil Hotel. So as time went on and no one could find her, the police released the footage to the public in hopes of someone having some information. And the footage of the elevator is one of the things that's super, super famous. And a lot of people, it went viral. You can find it all over. I'll probably post a link to it when we update the website. And the timeline here bugs me because it stated that the elevator footage is from February 1st. So she was supposed to have not been seen since January 31st, and she checked out that morning, but she's in the hotel elevator
so where was she
on
that
February 1st. So I'm thinking this must be the night of January 31st, where it moved into February 1st, and that's why they dated it. Otherwise, there's a day of her activity around the city unaccounted for where she still has a hotel key. She's still in the hotel with no room to stay in, and she's in the elevator. So it's just kind of odd. And you're probably saying,
it's really weird.
You're probably saying, like, who stated that was the date? Was it the internet? You know you can't trust the internet. No, dear listener, I'm quoting the police report, the 27-page police report. Or
27 pages.
To be more precise, the coroner's report, because we all know this is going to end badly. And I haven't done the preface of this could all be bullshit, because to this point, this is a real person. All these things are true. So, like, The details of whether or not something supernatural happened obviously could all be bullshit because everyone had their own opinion when this footage came out. And people were looking at this footage before they even found her, you know? And everyone knew what the Cecil Hotel was like. So people noticed odd behavior, and we'll get to there. So
I had no idea it was closed down again. Like,
yeah, they're redoing it again. But so anyways, we'll go with the police footage right now. So it's about the elevator footage. So it's about 4 minutes of her entering an elevator, and she leans down and she presses like multiple buttons, like she wants to go to multiple floors.
Right.
So
no, it's like she puts her hands down the entire thing.
She doesn't do the whole thing. She does like one button at a time with her fingers, but she does multiple buttons. And then like she stands there, and the fucking elevator doors don't close. And I don't know if she pressed like the emergency button or something like that, but even if you press the button to hold the door open for a little while, the doors close eventually. You know what I mean?
There's this game that you can play on elevators where you press a certain series of numbers, and by pressing those certain series of numbers, you can supposedly get taken to a floor that's supernatural.
Like a floor 13?
Yeah, sort of like that, but like where you're on another plane or something. There are a lot of like
I've never heard this before.
And stuff like that about it. Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird that she pressed certain ones.
Yeah, because she didn't press all of them. And you can watch it, and then after that, it's like the doors don't close, and she looks outside the door, and she looks left, and she looks right, and then she comes back in, and then she tucks herself into a corner, like she's expecting someone to come in the elevator, and the doors still don't close. Like, I don't know why the fucking elevator doors never close.
I would have been pressing the closed door button.
She never does that, you know, and then she stands around the elevator, she steps outside, she looks around again, she comes back in the elevator, she leaves the elevator, she steps out of the camera frame, the elevator doors close, the elevator doesn't move, they open back up to the floor, she's not there still, you can't see her, they close, they open, and that's it. And it's just really bizarre. Like, people act like, oh, she's on fucking drugs. Like, look at her wandering around. And then some people are like, no, she's terrified. She's running from something. She's trying to hide. She's pressing all these buttons to go to any floor so she can get away from it. But then it's like she left the elevator door too. But she didn't run out to like go to the stairs or anything. So it's just very, very weird. Everything that you see in the video. So this is what people get. And the search goes on for weeks. And the search continues up until February 19th, 2013. So almost 3 weeks later. And the reason this happens is because hotel guests had been reporting low water pressure in their showers and their sinks. Some of them started to state that the water was colored black. And some of them that didn't state that their water was colored black just stated that the water tastes funny. So upon inspection, Elisa Lam's body was found in one of the 1,000-gallon or 3,785-liter tanks on top of the hotel. Okay. There was 4 of them. She was found inside one of them. The autopsy showed no signs of struggle, no signs of physical trauma, no signs of sexual assault, and no signs of suicide.
Wow.
So the thing that annoys me is that a lot of people think that she just killed herself, you know?
Right.
You either think it's supernatural or you think she killed herself.
In there herself.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that even the autopsy says, like, she didn't kill herself. Like, there's no signs of suicide here. So people who saw the video footage that thought she was fucked up on drugs, you know, they said that before the autopsy report came back. The autopsy found no evidence of any recreational drugs of any kind. They found tiny, tiny traces of alcohol in her system, which I'm saying just to disclose, but it's like a 0.2% of a gram of alcohol in her blood.
Okay.
So, like, she wouldn't have been intoxicated by any means or in an altered state. You could get that from drinking, like, a fucking thing of, like, Dayquil or cough syrup or something like that.
What about her, like, depression meds and
stuff? They did find traces of each of the prescription drugs she was supposed to be taking daily in her system for her disorders.
Okay.
So she was taking the medications she was supposed to take. So she wasn't found until February 19th. And like I said, she didn't have any traces of those recreational drugs, just the ones she's supposed to take so that she doesn't have like a breakdown or whatever. And she wasn't fucked up. And like she wasn't drunk, and she had actually taken that medication, and people still blame her disorder for what happened to her. And it really fucking pisses me off. So one thing that bothers me is that they state that there is no sign of suicide, which means that the explanation, like if you want to take this at face value that there's nothing supernatural and there's no signs of foul play, is that the explanation is that she eventually went to the roof and did not take any elevator and avoided all cameras on the way to the fucking roof. Got there, found the water tanks, climbed onto the water tank, opened it. When opening it was like, it's skinny dipping time. And stripped naked, tossed her clothes into the tank, jumped in, and after jumping in, drowned.
Well, and then closed the top of the tank. Right?
Well, that's the thing, is that there's some disputes about like the state that everything was found in, and a lot of the things that you can find different details on depending on where you look on the internet. And obviously, if I look at Wikipedia, I try and like validate it through multiple sources, not just the one that it links to, but other ones, because people can fucking edit Wikipedia. But multiple places state that she was found naked. Some places state that she was found clothed. The places that state that she was found naked say that she was either that her clothes were recovered or they were never recovered.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of like confusion about it. The Wikipedia page states one thing, a bunch of different sites state a different thing, and some of them argue with each other. So I read all the way through the description of what happens to the body when I found the coroner's report when someone's in a tank of water for 3 weeks, which is really gross.
You blowed up and you're gross.
Yeah, and the reason I did that is because of all those things about naked or not naked, clothes recovered or whatever. The first thing that came to my mind is, okay, if she jumped in here and drowned and it was not a suicide, did she try and get out? And the first thing I can think of, if you're trying to get out of something and you can't reach, is that you're going to scratch and claw and try and get up the fucking sides.
Was there any?
There is no signs
whatsoever
of damage on her fingernails or toes. I even looked up the part where they draw like the damage on your hands. You know, they like have a picture of a body and they draw what happened to your body. Like,
yeah.
And there's like the skin had receded a little bit from all the different parts of her body because she had been in water for 3 fucking weeks. It's like, it's horrific, and I'll leave the rest out. And there are some inconsistencies in the story from the internet that I had mentioned that I want to get to before I move on. But one big one is that the tank, the opening at the top, wasn't big enough for a person to fit into. What? And I heard that the first time I was told the story, like the tank, like a person couldn't even fit in there. No one knows how she got in there. And that's a lie. Just flat out, like, that's not true. The tank is big enough for a person to fit into. The opening to it, especially someone with a slight frame, which she had. And I personally think the reason people started saying that is because when they went to recover her body, they couldn't fit the equipment to recover her out of it inside the opening. So they had to drain it, take the tank down, and cut the side of it open to get to her. So that just led to the mystery of, oh, she couldn't have fit in there on her own because they had to get her out that way. And that's not the case. The second thing that people say that's not true is that the tank was sealed when they found her, like the door was closed. And people have posted that multiple times. The tank was unsealed. The official report states that, quote, the removable hatch to the 1,000-gallon tank was unsecured. So whether that means that, like, the door was open and not locked, or the door was closed and not locked, it was open, you know? So
she could have gotten out then?
Well, that's the thing. It sounds like she could have or should have gotten out, but it just states that it was unsecured. And it's annoying to me because it's like, okay, well, I need to know for my like benefit, like, is there a latch or a door, or did she jump into it and she couldn't get back out? What happened with it? But the last one, and I don't know why I decided to look this up, was that, you know, I was bothering me. Like, was she found naked or was she found clothed? Were the clothes recovered if she was found naked? Like, something about the clothes not being recovered just seemed really suspicious to me. So, like, remember I said, huh? Like, huh?
Yeah.
When I was doing my research.
Yeah,
so,
I was like, what are you talking about?
It's because I figured out, like, what actually happened. So, like, it's stated on Wikipedia, and it is correct on Wikipedia, too. And this is what I find the most upsetting, is that, like, I'm trying to go through this with a skeptical point of view. Like, okay, let's say nothing supernatural happened in this creepy fucking hotel after this really creepy footage of this chick with this elevator that won't fucking move for her. And let's say that she found her way to this tank, and she jumped in, and she took off her clothes. It would make more sense if the clothes were recovered outside the tank, or if they were never recovered because they blew off the roof after 3 weeks. So I'm like, let's check. So as I'm going through this, I found out that she was indeed discovered naked, and her clothes were found inside the tank. So it just doesn't make any sense to me why she would go on there and have the wherewithal to remove her clothes before jumping into the tank, and then after she took her clothes off, she just threw them into the fucking tank along with her.
What if she was in the tank and then she took her clothes off while in there?
Again, like, why? You know, like, none of that just makes sense. And the clothes also had, quote, sand and small, flat, whitish, and fragile flecks of unknown material on them.
They couldn't even test it?
They didn't know what it was. Like, they did the test. They're like, we don't know what this shit is. And that was that. They're just like, okay, like, she has this shit on her clothes. We don't know what it is. And it's not to say that the police really know what the fuck. It's not to say that the police really know what happened here. Like, yes, there was a definitive ruling that it was an accident and not a suicide. But like on the 15th page of this report, there's boxes that you can check for like cause of death.
What do they do?
The boxes are natural, suicide, homicide, accident, and could not be determined. And the boxes that are checked are accident and could not be determined. Both of them were checked. And accident has a date next to it that says 6/15/13, and could not be determined is dated 6/18/13, which is 3 days later, but it's also like scribbled out, and underneath are the words error written on it. So like someone checked it. Someone checked both of them, or someone went back and checked that one, and then later on scribbled out could not be determined, and then wrote like 6/18/13 and error underneath it. So it's like, it's so weird with something so bizarre like a death like this, that when you look at the police report, like someone checked off like, we don't know what happened, we can't definitively say it was an accident, and someone else checked accident, and then they fucking dated it and then scribbled one out like, oops, never mind, like didn't mean to put that on there.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah, so like going through it, it's like, okay, so this doesn't like give anyone peace of mind. But this was a very real person with very real problems who wound up in a very, very fucked up place that's supposed to be haunted and has had horrible things happen in it, and that's where her life ended. And it was just another horrible thing that happened there. And the attention this story brought was the inspiration for a ton of movies and TV shows. Castle did an episode that same year, like 3 months later, which is kind of tasteless in my opinion, where like it mimicked the exact same events of what happened. How to Get Away with Murder did one as well. There was a movie called Hungry Ghost Ritual, which was made in Hong Kong by a director there, about a ghost fucking with a girl on an elevator. And he flat out said like the YouTube video of her being on the elevator and like the behavior on it made him write that movie. And then in mainland China, there was a director who announced he was going to make a movie about the entire incident, and he flew to LA and stayed in the Cecil Hotel while he did his research. There's a bunch of other things, and like last but not least, you already brought it up, but the 5th season of American Horror Story, which is in 2015, took place in a Hotel Cortez, and the creator Ryan Murphy stated that he was inspired by a surveillance video of a young woman who got into an elevator at a downtown hotel, and then the quote continues, she was never seen from again. So it's very obvious this was the inciting incident for a bunch of things.
Right.
And what's really annoying to me is that people still chalk it up like, oh, she killed herself. Like, oh, she was crazy. Like, no big deal. And then the people that don't do that get treated like they're crazy when they're like, no, there's something really fucking weird about that. Like, aside from the fact that it's a haunted hotel where someone died in really weird circumstances, like,
yeah, for real.
No one seems to think just because there was no signs of a struggle on her body or she wasn't sexually assaulted that someone couldn't have thrown her in that fucking tank. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they found her 3 weeks later. There's a lot of things that'll leave your system after 3 weeks that can incapacitate a fucking person.
Really?
And yeah, like there's a bunch of things that people use to try and murder other people with because it'll leave their system by the time the blood tests are done. And to throw a human being into a tank and then to have their fucking clothes taken off and also thrown into a tank. This is just a bunch of fucking bizarre details, you know? Like what's even more bizarre is that when I was doing research, I was like, this reminds me of something. And it's actually on the Wikipedia page at the bottom. There's a movie called Dark Water that came out in 2005, which is 8 years before any of this happened. And in Dark Water, it's about a mother and a daughter who move into a rundown apartment building. And at some point during this movie, tell me if any of this sounds familiar, there were scenes that involved a malfunctioning elevator, discolored water coming from faucets, and this led people to the roof where they found a water tank, and inside was a body of a dead missing girl.
And that's why it's called Dark Water.
Yeah, and this is from 8 years before this incident happened.
That's ridiculously intense.
Yeah, it's super creepy. And people are like, oh, life imitating art. Like, maybe she saw the movie. Oh, and I'm just like, shit. That's even more fucked up. And, like, what do I think happened? Because this is a super weird one, you know? And, like, I didn't go for super scary. I just went for super bizarre this week. But, like, what I think is, like, I honestly, spooky friends, like, I don't know. I think it's very likely that a 21-year-old woman struggling with her own demons accidentally got trapped in a water tank. I think it's possible that she was talking to some dude, and they're like, let's go skinny dipping up on the roof, you know?
Yeah, could have been.
And she jumped in,
and he drugged her.
He fucking bailed or something like that. Or who knows? There could be something even worse than that. Or it could literally just be she was having an episode, she went and did some weird shit. She jumped in a fucking tank. She took her clothes off because she was like too heavy, and she wound up just getting exhausted and drowned. And I also think it's very possible that, someone did lure her and put her in the water tank. And I think it's really bizarre, the security camera footage that you can see from the elevator. And when you combine that with the location of her death, I understand why a lot of people really believe something supernatural happened there. And I personally think that if it was indeed a murder, it's more likely an evil human being and not an evil spirit that did this to her.
Okay.
But what I do know beyond the shadow of a doubt is that I'll never, no fucking way, stay in that hotel. That's never. A horrible, fucked up place. There's only 15 floors of rooms. And I looked up and there was 26 deaths, and I only pulled 10 of them. And it didn't even include hers. And there was some other shit on there, and it's all either suicides or murders, and they're horrific. So this is just a very, very horrific, possibly haunted place that had something very terrible happen there.
It has to be haunted. There's no way it's not haunted.
And I'll post that picture of the spirit that's supposedly clinging to the side of the building, because it just looks really, really creepy. And like I said, it could be fake, but when it comes to this one, I specifically wanted to do this one because this is a bunch of documented shit, and we know what happened. We don't know how it happened, So the speculation, this could be bullshit, comes from people trying to explain stuff that is very hard to explain. It's very, very bizarre.
Okay.
So, I don't know. This one was one that I decided to do, and as I was doing it, I'm just none of this shit adds up. I don't understand how after 2 days, they're it's an accident. We just determined it's an accident. There's no, we can't find... I think it just comes down to, there's no fucking evidence whatsoever of anything but, this girl was just walking around on her own. No one saw her. The fucking security camera on the elevator saw her, and, that's it. And they just don't know. So it's a super creepy one, but I will state that now you know the facts of this, you can have your own opinion on this without just jumping straight to, oh, she was crazy, or, oh, the hotel is haunted and a ghost killed her.
Yeah.
Because either one is jumping to conclusions, but that said, knowing all the facts of the case, this one's fucking bizarre. And I think scary-ish is, really appropriate for what happened to her. And it's also super, super sad.
I honestly, I'm just, thinking now, because since you said she pressed certain buttons, I just wonder if she was playing that stupid elevator game.
I've never heard of that.
Spirits or something.
And I feel like I need to look that up and, do an episode on that now.
Yeah?
Yeah, because if there's more behind that, I'm really curious to know. So maybe I'll do that next week, and then the bloop can wait for another episode.
All right.
So, right on. That's the end of mine. So, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too dry and boring, but try to get as many facts into that one as possible for you. And I think it's a nice contrast to Robin's Were-Dolphins. So,
yeah.
Fun stuff.
Stay safe from dolphin impregnation.
And stay out of Hotel Cecil, or whatever they name it now. So, it won't be open until 2019, so you guys are safe for the rest of this year at the very least.
Yeah.
So I think that's about everything we have. So if you guys want to send us your paranormal experiences, you guys can email storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to facebook.com/scarishpodcast. Like the page. You can message us from there if you want to send it that way. If you want some instant feedback, join the group right there. And you can post it there, and you can have the community give you some instant feedback, or you can join the Discord. We post a link in there so you guys can join in there. I think we have around 80 people in the Discord now, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Shout out to Tornado. He's a user that decided he was going to help us clean it up a little bit. We really appreciate that. Carly had made it for us and had been maintaining it, and he offered a little bit of help, and we really appreciate when you guys do that. And the point of the Discord is to make sure that it feels like a community and everyone knows that there's a place where you can come to and talk about whatever you want, because it's not always scary stuff. A lot of times it's talking about movies or books or games or posting pictures of your adorable pets.
Yeah, and then we are trying to figure out how to do t-shirts. We want to test out a service by doing a limited edition t-shirt.
Yeah, we're going to do a first ever t-shirt. We're going to post a link basically everywhere we can for you guys to follow, and from there you can purchase the first ever Scarish t-shirt that we're ever going to have created. And then after that, if things go well, we can hopefully open up a full merch shop, which we're super excited about. So this is your first opportunity to buy what will be a limited edition Scarish t-shirt. This is the only time we're ever going to do this specific design with this specific everything.
Yeah, it says I was first on it, so it's kind of cute.
Yeah, it's been a really fun experience, and the company that we're working with has been fantastic, and they've just been very, very helpful, and we've kind of let them know we have this wonderful listener base, or viewer base, now that you guys can see us on YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that, and they're well, hey, let's figure out a way we can and test and see how interested they are in this stuff. So we're going to put that up. So if you're listening to this right now, And it's early access. It might not be up there yet, but we're also going to post it on Facebook, scaryish.com, all the places that we can, so that you guys can access this. And if you want to purchase the shirt, please do. It'll really help us out. And on top of that, you guys finally get some sweet-ass merch.
Yeah, it helps us figure out, like, if we should even make more,
Yeah, I want to get to the point where we can make hoodies, because I like to wear hoodies, like, everywhere I can, which is funny because I live in Las Vegas. And like, there's a bunch of other stuff that we can do. So this is the first one that we can offer you guys, and we're really excited to do that. So thank you for all the support that you guys have given us.
Yeah, thank you for always being so supportive. We are very lucky to have you guys in
We
our
really
lives.
are. And thank you to our patrons. Patreon has had some issues this month for whatever reason, giving out your donations or whatever they refer to them as, contributions. There's been a lot of errors, so thank you guys for suffering through that. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to sign up for Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. If you're a one-time donation only person and not a monthly person, go to Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. Or if you're looking...
Or donate to us on Twitch.
You can donate, during live episodes, you can donate there too. But right now, we do have the option available where if you want to give us a little bit of money and get yourself a t-shirt, you can totally do that. So definitely check that out. So I think that's just about everything.
Yeah.
Did I forget anything?
Nope, sounds good.
Right on. So keep on creeping on, and we'll see you guys later this week.